everyone and welcome to my craft room. I'm Leo from inkymemories.co.uk. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Wales, and today on this Workshop Wednesday video, in a slight change to our previously scheduled video, I'm going to be making a card using the Curvy Celebrations bundle. Now I had previously planned to do more festive videos up until Christmas, but unfortunately a lot of the products that I had planned to use for today have already sold out in the giant year-end closeout currently happening on Stampin' Up. So rather than showing you sold out products, I'm going to use something new from next year instead. So this bundle, the Curvy Celebrations bundle, is available in the January to June 2021 catalogue. However, it is available at the moment on pre-release. So it comes as a bundle like this, and currently up until January 4th, you can also order it as part of the Quite Curvy Variety bundle, which includes the Curvy Christmas stamp set and the classic Christmas designer series paper, which I've used quite a bit of already this year. Now this, whilst it is called Classic Christmas DSP, there are definitely non-festive designs in there, so it is very versatile, and you can get the whole lot as a bundle with a 10% discount as you would with any bundle with Stampin' Up, and I'll pop a link directly to all of that into the description box below for you. So today, like I said, I'm going to be making a card. Now this is a fairly generic card, really could be used for any occasion and really any body as well. It's not specifically feminine or masculine, it's fairly neutral, a perfect card to have in your card box for just in case. So let us get started. I'm going to bring in my pieces first of all. So I've got lots of different pieces we're working with today. So the card base is in Misty Moonlight. I've already pre-cut this, so this is just a standard half sheet of A4. So it's cut at 14.85 centimeters, and I've scored it at 10.5, which is halfway across. I then have a mat for the inside of my card. This is in Whisper White. So this is 13.35 by 9 centimeters. I've got a small sentiment piece here, which is 3 by 7 centimeters. And then I have cardstock in a wide variety of colours, which I shall explain in just a moment. Now these are all from my scraps bin. Quite often when I'm making card fronts, if I need a mat for the front of my card, I'll end up with a card width scrap of card, which is basically what all of these are. So they're all 10.5 centimeters wide, and then all of varying heights, as you can see. And the colours I have here are Bumblebee, Pumpkin Pie, Crystal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, Pretty Peacock, and Pacific Point. Now the card that I'm making today was actually on the flyer for the Curvy Celebrations bundle. I saw this card when the flyer first came out and I had to make it. I just loved everything about it. The colours, the way they all go so nicely together, the design and everything. It was something that I had intended to do a couple of months ago, but I missed a video. I had a couple of issues, I wasn't able to post one week. So this is going to be a great way to fill in this week when I can't make the festive projects that I had planned, and do something with this set instead. So I'm going to start with the die cutting. We've got quite a bit of die cutting that we're going to be doing. So let me bring in the curvy dies here. And we're just going to be using one die, which makes it a little bit easier. We're using this one here. So if I hold this up, hopefully this will focus for you. You can see you've got the cutting edge on this side, and this edge doesn't cut, but all of these dots will get cut out as well. It's very important to keep an eye on which side is the cutting side when you're doing the cutting for this card. I'll explain a little bit more as we go through. So I have here my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and the sandwich I'm using today for this is base plate number 1. I have my thin die adapter plate, which is plate 2. I have my magnetic base plate, which is plate 5, and then I have one clear cutting pad 3. So I'm going to start first of all with my Bumblebee layer. Now this is going to be the bottom layer of the card, and like I said, you're going to want to pay attention to which way up your cutting edge on your die is. Now you can vary the sort of cut that you get by curving your die one way or another, or you can in fact flip your die cuts over if you want to. So for my first piece, I want more cardstock on the right hand side than on the left hand side of my card. So I'm going to angle my die across my piece of cardstock like this. And just double check, yes, I do have that the right way up. So the cutting edge is on this edge, so this piece will get cut away, and then the dots will be cut out of the piece that's left behind. Now for the first piece, so your bottom layer, for me this is going to be this bumblebee piece. I want this to be quite a large piece of card. I can always trim it down later, but I need it to make sure that I have enough height on my card overall. So I'm going to move this quite far up, like I said, making sure I've got the curve that I want using the die. Pop my plate over the top and then run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Okay, that's my first layer cut. So as you can see, this piece has completely been cut away. We can get rid of that. Pop the die off, and this is the piece that's going to be the first layer of our card. Now to get these out, you can take a pick tool and poke them all out individually. The easiest way I found is literally just to flick the edge and pop the bits all over your craft room like confetti. Okay, there we go. So that is the first layer for our card. So I'm going to pop that down to one side and move on to the next layer. So next I'm going to be using the pumpkin pie piece of cardstock. Just grab off any of those dots that have been left behind on your cutting surface, because they will cause impressions in your cardstock otherwise. Okay, so popping my cardstock back down, let me just actually make sure I do have this the right way around. So this should be 10.5, yes it is, perfect. Okay, so popping this on, and this time I want the curve to be more on the other side. So this is the cutting blade towards the inside of the machine, and I want the curve to be on the left hand side this time, or the higher part of the curve I should say. So again, just set your die in. Now for the rest of your layers, other than your first layer, you want to keep the pieces of cardstock that you are keeping on your card front as small as possible, just to help stop your card building up too much depth to it. So pop the plate back on and send this back through. And again, I'm just going to flick all of the dots out of my piece of cardstock. There we go. That is my second layer done. Let's just get all of these dots off here. Okay, next layer. So the next one I'm going to do is in Coastal Cabana. And I want the curve this time to be higher on the right hand side. So if I pop this on like this, and then again I'm going to pop this through. Now you can vary the angle of each of the layers just by changing the way that you put the die onto the cardstock. So I'm going to repeat this now with all of the rest of the colours of cardstock that I have. So I have Bermuda Bay and also Pretty Peacock and Pacific Point. So I'm just going to continue cutting layers until I have all of the layers that I need for my card. Okay, so if I bring back in all of the pieces that I have cut here, here. And we can start to layer them up to see how they're going to look on our finished card. So my Pacific Point layer is going to be at the top of my card. And then my pretty peacock layer is going to go over the top of that. And then the Bermuda Bay and Coastal Cabana. And then Pumpkin Pie. And finally our Bumblebee layer at the bottom. Now you can move these around as much as you want to if you want to allow more of that colour to show through. Then just shimmy them about. What I would recommend that you do with this is fold and score your card base. Fold and burnish the score line on your card base. And then work to this edge. So as you're putting your pieces on, make sure they all line up with the folded edge, and then you can always trim down this edge if you need to. So let's just make sure these all fit nicely as I want them to. Like I said, you can layer these up as you want. You can have more or less of each colour showing on your finished project. If you want to have the colours overlapping slightly differently, then you can do that yourself. If you want to change up the colours, you know, pick your own colour palette, absolutely. So I think this is pretty much what I'm going for, and I'm going to stick all of these layers down with liquid glue. And the reason I said to keep your pieces as short as possible is so you don't have too much cardstock in your card making it too thick. So because I've kept my layers nice and short, there's only sort of 2 or 3 layers at once. You don't have all sort of 7 layers on top of each other, which is quite important in your card. You don't want it to end up being too bulky. So I'm just going to stick these down using liquid glue. It means I've got that sort of few seconds to wiggle the pieces around if they don't end up in quite the right place first of all. And like I said, I'm going to line them up to this edge. I'm going to come down with a pair of scissors and trim this edge. So if things hang off the edge of my card, that's not a problem. And I should just continue gluing on these layers until I have all of them on my card front. So this is the reason that I kept my yellow layer nice and long. It means I can cover the rest of the card base and fill it up. So even if you end up with all of your colour at the top, you can still fill the bottom. So I'm going to give a few seconds for the glue to dry in there. I'm just going to pop that to one side and we'll do some stamping in the meantime. And the stamps that I've chosen for this, so I've got the Made with Love Just For You sentiment down here, and I've also grabbed out this swag. And I've already pre-mounted these onto blocks, so these are just clear block D for both of them. So I'm going to stamp in a couple of different colours. For the sentiment on the front of the card, which is the Made with Love Just For You, I'm going to use Bumblebee ink. So I'm going to grab my sentiment piece here, tap my stamp lightly onto my ink pad just to get it nicely inked up. Line up my sentiment piece with my grid paper. Make sure I've got my stamp nicely centered on that piece of cardstock, and then just press straight down and lift back up. And because it is a smaller piece of card, it has stuck to the stamp, that's fine. Just gently pick it off and not a problem. And then for the inside of the card, I'm going to stamp in Misty Moonlight. Getting some in colours in today. So for this one, I'm going to use the swag piece. So again, I'm just going to lightly tap my stamp into my ink pad. Don't need to press too hard or too vigorously on here, just light taps is all you need. And I'm going to stamp this twice on the inside of my card. So I want to go across the bottom left corner and then I'm going to repeat this across the top right corner. So rotating my stamp and doing exactly the same, just press the stamp straight down, hold your cardstock in place and lift your stamp straight back up. Now at this point, anyone who has watched my channel before would be expecting me probably to be stamping an envelope. Confession time, I have run out of envelopes. It's a bit of a perfect storm. So with Christmas, obviously I've been making a lot of cards and sending a lot of cards, and I have used up my current stash of envelopes. And as you may have seen on my Facebook page, Stampin' Up are currently transitioning from our Whisper White paper products to a new basic white paper products. Unfortunately, this supplier that provided us with all of our white paper products is no longer operating, so we can no longer get hold of those, and it means that Whisper White envelopes are currently unavailable. So there are none available on the Stampin' Up store, so I literally do not have an envelope for this card. Not a problem though, it's going to sit in my card box until such time as I need to send it anyway, so I don't need an envelope right now, but just something to be aware of. I will pop some information on this change into the description box below for you so you can read a little bit more about it, and there is also a video and I'll pop that up here for you so you can check that out as well. However, never mind, it's not going to stop us continuing to finish our gorgeous card here. So I'm going to do a little bit of something with this. I have here the Bumblebee gingham ribbon, and I just want to cut myself a fairly short little piece of this. We're just going to make a tab on the side of the sentiment piece here. So just a very small piece of ribbon needed for this one. And I have some glue dots here. And what I'm going to do is on the back of my ribbon, right towards the cut end, I'm just going to place one glue dot on there. So literally just stick the ribbon onto the glue dot and pull it back up. And then when I fold the ribbon over onto itself, it will stick with that glue dot. And then taking my sentiment piece, I want to put the tab on this side. So when I flip this over, it's going to be on this side. I'm going to grab my Stamping Seal Plus and just run a strip of this along the edge of my sentiment piece, just like that. And then taking my little ribbon tab, I'm going to pop this onto that piece of Stamping Seal Plus that I've just laid down on that sentiment strip. So if I move this into the center a bit, hopefully you can see this. And I'm going to try and get this as centered as I can. That looks pretty good. Just press it firmly into that adhesive, and then that is your sentiment with its little tab attached. Okay, now it is time to snip up the edges of my card. So I'm going to use a pair of long scissors for this. It makes it easier if you use long scissors because you can get nice long straight cuts, and you're literally just going right the way along the edge of your card base to do this. So it just cuts off that little waste piece on the bottom. And then if you do have any overhang on the edges, you can see here I've got a couple of little bits. So again, just running your scissors down along the edge of your card base, just in nice long cuts, trim off any pieces that are overhanging there. And that is the front of our card completed pretty much. We just need to add all of these pieces to it. So let's get the inner mat into the card. Going to just use liquid glue for this, nice and simple. So just a nice thin bead of glue all the way around the edge, not too close to the edge though, you don't want it to squeeze out when you put it into place. And then a bit across the middle just to hold it. And just pop this into the center of your card base. Give it a few seconds to bond. If you need to wiggle it around, you've got a few seconds to do that before the glue catches. And then for my sentiment piece, I'm going to pop this on with a couple of dimensionals. So just one at either end should be enough. Peel the backs off those. And I'm going to aim this towards the bottom right hand corner of my card, making sure I've got an even space on the right hand side and the bottom. so. And the last thing I'm going to add to the front of this, I have here the frosted and clear epoxy droplets. I absolutely love how these look, especially the clear ones for this project. I think they are going to really highlight all the lovely colours that we've picked on this project here. So I'm just going to pop a couple of these across the front of my card. Now there are two different sizes of these. So you've got these giant drops here, which are real statement pieces, and I absolutely love them. And then you also have the slightly smaller ones as well. So I'm going to go with 5 of these drops today. There we go. And that is my finished card project using the Curvy Celebrations pre-release products, so the Quite Curvy stamp set and curvy dies to make a really simple card. And like I said, it's a lovely neutral card that could be used for any occasion, and you can absolutely dress this up with any colours of cardstock that you want. You know, go mad. I wouldn't necessarily have said that all of these colours went together if you'd have told me beforehand, but actually looking at them on the front of a card, they look fantastic. So why not maybe mix some green and some purple shades with some pink perhaps, or something. You know, go mad, have a look through your cardstock and see what you have available. Thank you very much for joining me in my craft room today. I do hope that you have enjoyed this project. If you have, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. All of the products that I've used in this project today are available through my store with Stampin' Up, and I'll pop a link into the description box below for you so you can shop those for yourself. If you're based in the UK and you don't currently have a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you'd like a copy of our physical catalogues, there will also be in the link in the description box below for you to request those, and I'll get those straight out into the post for you. I'd like to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. This is my last video before Christmas, so I do hope you have a fantastic Christmas, however and whoever you are celebrating with. And I would like to thank you all again for joining me today. Bye bye!